So the Watcher Angels brought civilization, but was that a good thing? That's what we're going to be talking about today, ladies and gentlemen, because we are in part 7 of this big, long series that I'm doing on Noah and the flood and what happened in the water, what that has to say about the book of Revelation, what that has to say about us today, what it has to say about a lot of stuff, the giants, the disembodied spirits, mythology, Nimrod, Freemasons. It's all connected. And if you want to know, start from the first video, which will be in the playlist. There's an intro going to let you know exactly what this whole thing is about. But today we're going to be talking about the Watcher Angels. So to recap, if you haven't seen the first 6 videos, I'm not going to recap. I'm just going to say that these are the angels that were referred to in the Bible as the Watchers, who decided to sleep with the women, the human women, and form these Nephilim giants. Now, go back to those videos to get more into the giant stuff. I did a whole video breaking down the giants. I just did a video breaking down where the demons come from, disembodied spirits. And we're going to talk about the Watchers, because what you may not know, according to the book of Enoch, that these Watcher Angels each had their own kind of technology, if you will, that they offered to the world, right? Something that they brought to the world that was like a technology that they used to so-called civilize society. Now, I don't think civilization is as good as we think it is. And I'll explain later on, because I think it has a lot to do with us losing our reliance on God and therefore no longer finding a place for God and therefore no longer being able to serve the Lord the way that we should and rely on him the way that we should as our good Father. But we'll come back to that a little bit further, a little bit down the line, and we'll just set the tone. So let's go to, we are in 1st Enoch chapter 7. And I'm just going to read to you guys so that you can hear the types of things. Actually, is it even chapter 7? I think it's 8. Yeah, it should be chapter 8. I want you guys to hear, actually no, we'll start with 7 because we can start to see some of the bits and bobs going on, and let's discuss. So, and all others together with them took unto them themselves wives. So if you haven't seen the previous video, obviously check it out. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. But basically, there was the leader, Semjaza, the leader of all this rebellion of the Watchers, and he then had these other leaders who all had their tens, they were chiefs of like 10 amount of tens or so, because there was 200 Watchers in total according to the book of Enoch, which of course is not a biblical book, but is a book obviously that talks about things, historical accounts of what happened. Enoch himself being the great grandfather of Noah. So just to be clear, so anyways, so that's where we're at. So we're at the bit where they've organized themselves. They've all made this oath together, like these angels, that we're all going to pay we know that we're sinning. We know that we're going to pay the price, but we're choosing to do it anyway because we're lusting after the women, right? It's insane. Anyways, and so we're in verse 1. Yeah, so we'll read from chapter 7. And all the others together with them took unto themselves wives, and each chose for himself one. And they began to go in unto them and to defile themselves with them. And they taught them charms and enchantments and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. And they became pregnant, and they bear great giants whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisition of men. So what I want you to first of all notice, they taught them charms and enchantments and the cutting of roots. So the Watcher Angels, you're going to see what else they brought to the earth. And when you see the other things they brought, the technologies that they came with, you guys are going to realize, oh, this is why everything is as bad as it is today, right? So they brought all of this stuff that they brought, right? And it's kind of insane because obviously God had built the world, and I believe that, again, just like in the Garden of Eden, you had the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It's like you can either just follow me as your good Father, the Most High God, the most powerful, who created everything for you and only has ever done good by you, and only ever will, only ever has, and only ever has shown you unconditional love, right? You can follow me and live freely in life, and that's all you have to do is just trust me, and that's all you have to do. You can be the passenger princess of all time. Right? Or if you want to, go ahead and you can try and seek the knowledge of good and evil for yourself and try and figure that out by yourself, just so you know that's going to lead to death, right? And you know why he's saying that? Because us in our human thinking, we have flawed thinking, we don't know what we're doing. And when we think we do, we don't, and we take ourselves to our own destruction. Just like the simple fact that we would choose the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is proof of exactly what I'm saying. Because why would you not take life when life is there? People worry today about, oh my gosh, God is sending us to hell. No, he didn't. He gave us life freely, and we chose hell. We chose death. We were told. And we all do it today. Today, as adults, all of us do it, myself, in the world. We do it. We choose the things that we choose, and then we get upset when we have to deal with the consequences of the decisions that we actually made in our right mind. Sometimes maybe not in our right minds, but do you know what I'm saying? So a lot of these things, again, it's opening up these doors for alternative routes. And we're going to talk about Nimrod as well in a second. Maybe Nimrod will be the next video. Should I do the sirens? Oh, it's hard. Anyways, we're going to get to Nimrod and the sirens and everything at some point. So don't you worry. Do not worry. All is to come. So they taught them charms, enchantments, and cutting of roots and made them acquainted with the plants. So now they're teaching them to be self-sufficient without God. Right? And that's the problem. Nothing wrong with being self-sufficient. Any good parent wants their child eventually to become self-sufficient so they can function well as themselves as an adult, right? But there comes a point with God where we don't graduate to adulthood. That's why we're not the adults of God, we're the children of God, right? And so and they became pregnant, and they bare great giants whose height was 3,000 ells, who consumed all the acquisitions of men, and when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. And they began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. The lawless, right? It's like the devil. What is the law of Satan? Do what thou wilt. Do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. Yeah, sounds nice when you're thinking, oh, great, I just want to go to the beach and go for a swim or go for a surf. You know when that doesn't sound good? When it's a predator saying that, oh, I want to go and do whatever I'm going to go and do with this child. Then all of a sudden we have to realize that there has to be some rules and boundaries and some laws and things that need to be in place, isn't it? Because doing whatever we want all of a sudden very quickly doesn't become such a good thing like it initially sounded like. Yeah? So yeah, this isn't just, oh, do whatever you want, have whatever Subway sandwich you want with whatever fillings, toppings, sauces, salads you want to get in there. No. There's other people that are trying to like, oh, do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. Lie to the complete public that when you come into power, you're going to do X, Y, and Z, but in reality, you're never going to do it just so you can get to the place of power. Do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. Right? So I talked in the previous video about disembodied spirits, about the nature of demons, this insatiable demonic desire for just the most heinous things, and how this all stems here. So you can go back and check that in the previous video. What I really want to get into is this next part. So it says, and Azazel taught men to make swords, knives, and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working with them, and bracelets and ornaments, and the use of antimony, and the beautifying of eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones, and all coloring tinctures. Right? So we're bringing in these things that are creating, we have today issues with weapons and wars, right? How did we even know that weapon was a thing? How about that part? We knew that we get angry. We knew that when we get angry, maybe we feel like throwing hands or we feel like hitting someone. Where did we get the idea of swords and shields and knives and breastplates? The Watcher Angels. The metals of the earth. We now here are all going through all these issues with money and whatnot because of these things that are in the ground. Would we even know that they existed if it wasn't for the Watcher Angels who went out of place for what they were supposed to be doing? Or would we just have stayed with what the Lord intended, what he gave us to do and how he told us to live, which was, you guys all just listen, like the world is, the land is going to feed you. The land is going to be a place where you can live and you can rest and you can sleep and you can build your own house and you can have your own land and you can do all of that, right? Not none of this, oh, we're going to dig out all the gold and then we're going to make gold the standard of how we now have money. And in order to say you have money, you need gold. In order to pay for things now, you need gold. But we're going to make sure we all have all the money. Do you guys see how it all comes down to this? The beautifying of islands and all costly stones, bracelets, ornaments, right? The art of seduction for a lot of us women today, right? How to beautify yourself. Even when Jezebel was killed in the Bible, which, by the way, Jezebel, do you know that the word Jezebel, the name Jezebel means unhusbanded? Right? So Jezebel, even Jezebel, when she was killed finally by Jehu in the 2 Kings, right? Because Elijah went to be with the Lord. Ahab died. Like, she wreaked havoc. She made it through to 2 Kings. Even Ahab didn't make it there. Right? And it took another person of God, Jehu, to swoop in and get rid of Jezebel, right? What was she doing? She was beautifying herself. She was putting on makeup. Nothing against makeup, not villainizing makeup, not demonizing it, but it is absolutely used both with the modern woman in terms of art of seduction and sorcery, because I'll be really honest, right? This is one of the reasons I actually veered off from wearing makeup. I only wear like literally mascara and lip gloss, as you guys always see me in, and my lip gloss is literally clear because I'm like, listen, I don't want anybody to be scared If I take my face with makeup off, I can't. It's just too much, right? I don't want to be involved in any type of sorcery to that degree, right? And I'm not saying it's bad altogether. Like, I think it's so cool that people do really incredibly beautiful makeup. What I'm saying is it is a manipulation because it's not actually how you look in reality, if we're being honest. But that's not the worst part. The really bad one is there are people in the world who there are women around the world in the beauty industries who are purposefully teaching women how to beautify themselves in certain ways in order to use the art of seduction to achieve certain demonic goals, right? And this also actually links in with the creatures found in the sea, because a lot of this stuff to do with beauty and makeup and all of this, it has a lot of linkages to the things in the sea. And there's a lot of like rituals around the world that people do, these women and whatever, to sacrifice into these gods so that they can have powers to go and, just put men under spells and all sorts of things. It's actually kind of scary. Well, it's not scary to me, but it's actually kind of crazy that people are doing it. Anyway, and there arose among the godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray and became corrupt in all their ways. So that's because of Azazel. Then we've got Semjaza. So Semjaza was the one who led them. Semjaza taught enchantments and root cuttings. Armoros, the resolving of enchantments. Barakijal taught astrology. Kokabel taught the constellations. So again, these Ezquiel, the knowledge of the clouds. Arakil, the signs of the earth. Shamsiel, the signs of the sun. Sariel, the course of the moon. And as men perished, they cried, and their cry went up to heaven. So as they've taught these things are wreaking havoc on earth, because people are finding these alternate routes to the things that are available with God. Because with God, you don't need the astrology and the constellations and all these signs. God will tell you what you need to do. God will send you his own sign. God will do his own thing, right? He doesn't need to tell you. He doesn't need you to go to some other route. So notice how it's funny how they're saying all this stuff, and as they're saying it, it's always leading into sinfulness and godlessness, right? So they said, the beautifying the eyelids, coloring tinctures, the knives, the swords, the metals of the earth, right? And there was godlessness, and they committed fornication. They were led astray, and they became corrupt as a result because of all these enchantments, root cuttings, all these different astrologies, constellations. And as men perished, they cried, and their cry went up to heaven. So these things that they're doing, it's not even benefiting them in the long haul. It's not even helping them out in the end. It's actually wreaking more destruction, more havoc, because it's just giving us ways to keep going against each other. It's just like, I remember learning about the Cold War, like at school in history, which again, lots of like a big heaping helping of a pinch of salt for that, because obviously we all know that history is not really taught in schools. It's just a very calculated version of events in order to get you to believe a particular narrative. We're going to talk about history separately. History versus mythology is going to be a part of this series anyway. But I remember thinking, anyways, as we were going through the Cold War and like what Russia was doing, America was doing, all these things, I remember thinking that like it's actually kind of crazy that it's basically like everything was like a race to who can get the greater weapon, the bigger bomb, the greater cannon, who can get to this first, that first. We're now just in this thing where it's like, so whoever can have the more powerful weapon is better. Like, we've become so reliant on these things, right? That all stemmed from here, that caused destruction. This is why I don't believe there's ever going to be any more like severe, like another level of the hydrogen bomb and all these, because these new bombs that they have, they'll just destroy the planet in an instant. So ain't nobody going to drop that, because even these people in power with their underground tunnels, or the ones of them who are planning to escape to live on Mars or whatever, are aware that, yeah, these powerful weapons, they could blow up everywhere. So that's the one thing I think everybody has in common, is in like some of these weapons that we could be making, we're not going to be making them with the science that we have, because it's just going to wipe out everybody. And that's a scary thought, right? So this is where this stuff starts. And this is what I was saying to you guys about the whole, what I was trying to say to you guys about civilization, and like, were these things actually good or weren't they? I don't think they were. I think that we had all of these things that gave us an opportunity, essentially, to have to not rely on God, less and less reason to rely on God, more and more reason to rely on ourselves or something else. Which and the thing is, it's just like it says on Disney, just like I always say to you guys, that in all these stories, these so-called fairy tales, these so-called myths and legends and all these things, what do they always say? Magic comes with a price. And isn't it funny how when you look in the entertainment industry and you hear that people, oh, so-and-so sacrificed their family. Like the other day I was listening to this very, very creepy story about Jennifer Hudson and how, like, you know, just at the peak of her career, how like 3 of her family members all died and they believe it was a sacrifice. You know, a lot of people say that they were sacrificed. And the way she acted at the time was very nonchalantly about, like, she just lost 3 of her family members, of which I think it was like, was it like her mother, her sister, her nephew, or something like that. I'm not sure. But anyways, the point being, or her mother, her brother, her nephew, I'm not sure. But anyways, the point being that, you know, these things, like, magic comes with a price. When you work with the kingdom of darkness, there is a price. The price is always life, because the devil needs a life force. He doesn't have a life force. He's not life. That's why God, Yahweh, Yod Hey Waw Hey, in Hebrew, that's the letters Yod Hey Waw Hey, Yahweh, I am the I am, like I am living. God is life itself. So in order for you to replicate life, the only way the devil can do that is he has to steal off of God, basically. He has to go and take off of God's life where God has placed life. And that's why we see things like sacrifices. That's why a lot of these then became gods, right? All of these demonic entities, why is it they ask you to sacrifice? Because in truth, they don't actually really have power without you doing those things. Why is it that we see all these weird things in the entertainment industry where people are dying and there's random events happening where, oh, you know, we had the Astro Worlds, or this, that, and the other, or we're killing and we're hurting kids behind the scenes, or there's children being trafficked on the border of the United States right now. There's child trafficking going on and all sorts of horrible things happening to children. And why are we finding these underground tunnels in cities in certain places, that we're finding things where there's baby things and there's evidence that things have been done to children and stuff like that? Why are we finding all these things? Why are we finding that people are doing these blood this and blood that? Because the devil has to steal off the life force of God, because he's just copycatting. It's copycatting and it's counterfeiting. And that's what these guys brought in. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't really necessarily a good thing. A lot of this is not necessarily a good thing, that they had all these civilizations. What would have actually been better, I think, is if we just continued on as tough humans who knew how to do stuff, knew how to look out for our own food, grow our own foods, build our own places of living. If we need a boat, know how to build a boat and build a raft to get you from A to B. If you need to do this, know how to do all those things. Because you know why? Because now we are at the mercy of who? The kingdom of darkness. Because the kingdom of darkness and all these minions and all of them who are doing just like these people here, the same old stories, right? Going to these gods, getting information about how to circumvent, go around God, right? Not use God as a source, use something else. Of course, they need a life force. Therefore, it's going to cost blood, right? It's going to cost blood. Of course, they're going to do that. And then we're here dependent on them. Why? Because we've allowed it. Because they worship their gods more seriously than we worship our own gods. Isn't that insane? Right? So do I want to read this part here, or do we need to, or can we just wrap it up? I think we can wrap it up there. I think you guys get the gist. Yeah, we'll leave it there because I don't want to make the videos too long. But that's what they did, guys. So just think about that. Think about that, like, going forward as well. Like, that this is what these Watcher Angels brought. It was like a business deal. It was a business deal. We're going to bring you this. We're giving you all these things that we can teach you, but we just want to sleep with you. It's literally the gold digger business deal, like I always talk about with men and women today. Like, when women just beautify themselves and look absolutely stunningly beautiful, and as long as you look stunningly beautiful and got a good body as a woman, sorry to say it, but the fellas have made it easy. That's all we have to do. And then men will just throw money and everything at you just to be beside you, or just to be in you, preferably both. But a lot of them will just take the former if they can get it. And it's true, because that's what happens. It's the same thing. That's what I'm saying. Nothing is new under the sun. It's the very same thing. The same way that all the women had to do was be beautiful. For them, these Watcher Angels to swoop in with all of their things that they have on offer that the Lord gave them, that they could have used for good, that they could have used for whatever. They just come here just so that they can procreate with the women, because they had lust after the women. That's what it says. They lusted after the women, right? Isn't that crazy? Nothing is new under the sun. Nothing. There's nothing that's happening now that hasn't already happened. The reason why things seem crazy is because history has been adjusted so that the narrative of the history that we've been taught has been made in such a way that we don't believe in these things anymore. That's the real heinousness of it all, if we're being really honest. So anyways, you guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please keep watching through. We're going to next be talking about what happened to those women. So what happened to the women, the women who slept with the Watcher Angels? What did God do with them according to the book of Enoch? How does that relate to where we are today? that's where we're going next. So I'll see you guys in the next part. If this is the first of all the videos in this series you've watched, check out the first video in the playlist to get the full breakdown of exactly what this is all about. Other than that, God bless every single one of you that is watching, because if life is a game, then we're going to play to win. Let's play to win, y'all. God bless you. God loves you. I love you. And I'll see you in my next one.